there, and welcome back to Voice Talks. I'm Sofia Altuna, and your host for this monthly series that is now, after the success of last year, in our second season. 2020 was one of, if not the most challenging year of our lifetime. And despite everything, we managed to do something spectacular. We did this by coming together each month as a community. Starting from nothing, we grew to over 100,000 subscribers, with over 600 million impressions and views combined. Just think about 600 million for a second. That is equal to over 33,000 football stadiums, and that's insane, and this is because of you. You made this possible, and I could not be more thankful and grateful for this voice community. Off the heels of last year's success, we're excited to find new ways to connect, build, and celebrate the voice community. Last year, we used our voice devices to help us deal with the challenges in front of us, like keeping kids on schedule with their schoolwork, getting up-to-date information on COVID-19, controlling our smart home products with our voice instead of touching them, and apparently checking a lot for how to spell the word quarantine, which, for the record, it's, hey Google, how do you spell quarantine?
Quarantine is spelled Q-U-A-R-A-N-T-I-N-E.
Thanks, Google. A little fun fact is that using the dictionary and translations more than doubled last year. This year, we're going to see voice assistants moving more towards becoming truly ambient. In this future of ambient world, smartphones, smart displays, TVs, hearables, cars, watches, or just any custom smart object will feel less like an individual island and just more like one continuous, intuitive, personal supercomputer, where all of our smart devices will come together and work together. And this year, we're moving closer to that vision, where our devices are always accessible, but they're not the focus. Our lives are the focus. And the assistants are there wherever we are to help us live our lives, to help save us time, to increase our productivity, and to really enjoy the moments in front of us as the tech just can fade into the background. Naturally, ambient computing will start connecting our lives at home and on the go much better so that users can move seamlessly between them. A very easy example of this would be that I'm just like running around my house before heading out, and I can just speak up and order an Uber, and my smart display will catch it. And then, as I'm getting ready and doing like some final touches, my watch just tells me that my Uber is 1 minute away. And like that, the devices connect with one another and keep me staying on time, which as a Latin America, I definitely need all the help that I can get with like staying on time. As a stepping stone in this direction, at the start of the year, VoiceBot.ai put some voice AI predictions. Brett Kinsella is going to dive much deeper into this today, but I wanted to share a few because I was completely aligned with some of these predictions. There were a few that were around the home. So last year taught us that to have a new appreciation for our homes, a place where we now do work, where we school, play, dine, and if you're like me, you dance as well. And smart displays really expanded the functionality of what's possible with voice in the home. And in this month alone, during the Consumer Electronics Show during CES, we already saw new advances in home voice technology, with the demand for these devices just remaining very high. Another topic that came up with high frequency as a 2021 prediction was on the go, and the idea of voicifying your mobile journey. The CEO of Just AI, Kirill Petrov, wrote it beautifully, saying that voice in mobile apps is the hottest trend right now, and it will stay so because voice is a natural interface. This is something that we touched on at the end of last year a lot, and really one of the things that I'm most excited about for this year. So with that, let's get started in today's episode. Today, we're going to focus on the consumer. And why? Well, we conducted a poll to see what verticals you're excited to see voice technology expand to in 2021. And here's what you said. 43% of you answered consumer services, another 43% of you answered the health and wellness industry, and 14% answered the automobile industry. So, especially coming off the recent virtual CES, we're going to discuss some of the newest announcements in voice technology specifically for consumers. And in addition to all the updates from CES, it is also the time of the year where we normally start our New Year's resolution. So we're going to discuss great ways to start good habits using our voice. But in order to learn from one another, we would like to ask you, how are you using your voice device to keep your New Year's resolution? Let us know your answers in the chat or with the hashtag VoiceTalks on Twitter, and I'm going to be sharing some of these responses later on in the show. For today's lineup, we're going to start with our partner spotlight, where Michelle Turner, the Senior Director of Google Smart Home Ecosystem, is in conversation with Lance Koenders, Director of Home and Gaming Products at Verizon, discussing Verizon's newest announcements and why integrating voice technology is essential to their consumers. Then we're going to move on to one of our favorite guests, Brett Kinsella from VoiceBot.ai, for a Trends and Insights segment discussing consumer trends for 2021. Following Brett, we're going to have our Ask the Expert segment, where Tony Kuppenping from Google Developer Relations team will show some fundamentals on building this consumer-facing actions. And finally, we're going to welcome back Catherine Prescott from VoiceBrew for our ecosystem update, sharing 3 ways to keep great habits using our voice. So let's kick things off with Michelle and Lance.
Thanks, Sophia. I'm excited to be here at Voice Talks today. As we know, over the last year, we're all spending a lot more time at home. And a lot of that time is spent interacting with our home technology of all varieties. So many products come together to power a smart home. Light bulbs, thermostats, TVs, speakers, the list goes on and on. As Sophia mentioned, there are a lot of exciting connected home announcements at CES. And we are very excited to partner with brands like Sony, Samsung, Verizon, and others to bring a smarter home to you. In fact, a recent study by Voice Labs revealed that 30% of consumers noted adding or upgrading smart home devices as their primary reason for investing in a voice device. That's a lot of people connecting their homes to technology. To make it easier for you, the consumer, to control all of your connected devices, we've been working closely with brands and manufacturers to make sure your devices communicate and work across the smart home ecosystem. From our first integration with SmartThings, turning on the lights, to saying, hey Google, preheat the oven to 350 degrees, or hey Google, set the alarm for the back door, we're continuing to make the increasingly connected home a little bit smarter. And for developers, we want to give you the tools that you need to make your home and those of other Nest users helpful in the ways that matter to you most. Now it's even easier to build for the home using the Device Access Program. Device Access enables access, control, and management of Nest devices with partner apps, solutions, and smart home ecosystems using the Smart Device Management API. With more and more of the connected voice devices being smart displays, the future innovation of providing entertainment, education, communication, and more is likely to be delivered via a screen, mobile, smart display, or television especially. And that's why I'm particularly excited to be joined by Lance Koenders, the Director of Home and Gaming Products at Verizon today. Welcome, Lance.
Hi, Michelle. Thanks for having me on Voice Talks today. I'm thrilled to be here today and talk with you guys about bringing Google Assistant to our Fios TV customers. So as you mentioned, we've been spending a lot of time at home nowadays, and as you can imagine, our consumers are doing as well. And they're spending time not just watching content, but they're also spending a lot of time kind of exploring and innovating with their home technology. So I am thrilled to announce that we are integrating Google Assistant with Fios TV, and it'll allow consumers to control their TV through voice, doing things like finding the programs they love and tuning to the channels that they want. So maybe the best way to do this is let's start with a quick demo.
Change the way you watch with Verizon's 4K-enabled Fios TV One. Control your TV like never before with our advanced voice remote. Search by channel, title, actor, or even genre. Say, show me sci-fi movies, or watch SportsCenter. And with Fios TV One Mini, you can connect wirelessly and put your TVs almost anywhere in your home. No cable outlets needed. Go to channel 500 to upgrade to Fios TV One.
That demo is awesome. It is just great to see. And you know what? You guys did it just in time for the Super Bowl. So now all I have to say is, hey, Google, tunes to CBS on Fios TV. Or when my husband steals the remote, I can pause the show or skip back 30 seconds to watch that commercial again.
Yes, absolutely, you can do that. I'm a little bit surprised that that's the use case that your husband wants to go do. But, in addition to changing the channel and pausing the action, one of the cool things about Google Assistant is it allows them to quickly find the content they love.
Come on, Lance, the only commercials that are worth rewinding for happen to be Super Bowl commercials, right? We can hope.
Okay, I'll go with you on that one. If there's going to be a great commercial, it's going to be during the Super Bowl.
In most households, entertainment and televisions are the cornerstone of the connected home. From watching your favorite shows, playing games with the family, video chatting with Duo, or even using it as a screen to monitor your home security systems. The role of the service providers for the consumers is a very exciting space right now. Can you tell us a little bit more about how Verizon sees the role of voice in its consumer technologies, specifically home technologies?
Sure. Verizon launched its first voice remote back at the end of 2018 with our Fios TV1 set-top. The Fios TV1 set-top is our first 4K set-top, and the voice remote has been an amazingly popular functionality. If you think about it, searching for content, and the more content we have, doing it with a remote control, not the best experience, trying to type that way. So, you being able to quickly do a search through voice, it's very useful. The other nice thing about voice is it appeals to a very different demographic that values simplicity. So, if you think about the mobile first generation that prefer to use mobile applications, voice tends to be very complementary, meaning the segment that prefers it generally are not that mobile first generation. And so at Verizon, we've always thought that there was a group of consumers that would prefer this far field capability because they don't want to go off and speak into the remote. And if you think about it, oftentimes the remote is just not accessible. So for example, if you're cooking or you can't find your remote. And so bringing this voice functionality is pretty useful for certain scenarios as well. The other thing that it does for us is we still have a lot of old set-top boxes that are out there in consumers' homes. And this allows us to bring that functionality to older hardware that we don't have to upgrade them to the latest stuff. So we've been working with partners, and Google is one of those great partners, to better understand consumer interest and how they'll use voice with their viewing experience. And to date, probably the biggest thing that we've seen with this notion of kind of far field voice, which is with Google Assistant, is getting that experience set up. And so, many consumers, it's difficult to set up. And so simplifying that experience is going to be crucial to getting us mainstream adoption. And I think, Google Assistant has done a lot to make the setup easier, and I think that's good. Eventually, though, I think what we're going to see is we'll see assistants like Google Assistant integrated directly with the set-top box. By integrating directly, you can get that perfectly easy experience right out of the box with it. So we do believe we'll see that happening in the not too distant future.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more on the issues around setup, and that tends to be one of the problems that we see with all types of connected devices. And you're absolutely right. Being able to integrate in with set-top boxes down the line would really solve a number of problems for consumers, and just being able to make this easy for them to get set up and going with. Yeah. I love that you mentioned that the remote is not always a practical option while cooking. Telling my TV to pause while I have my hands full of sourdough starter is absolutely a use case in my household.
I want to go to your household if you have sourdough starter going on.
We have a lot of sourdough that goes on in my house. It's really exciting that Verizon has implemented this capability that can leverage hardware that might be a few years older and doesn't have built-in voice capabilities. This applies to, I've got to believe, millions of TVs out there. So being able to give more consumers this benefit through this feature is wonderful. So what excites you about the future of Verizon and using voice as a way to interact with your services and your hardware?
Yeah, there's a lot of things that we look forward to in the future. It's funny, one of the features that we have that people love when they figure out, actually discover the feature, is we have this thing called Find My Remote, where, people lose the remotes all the time. It happens. And you can literally hit the power button on the set-top box twice, and it will start beeping your remote. So you can find it stuck in the couch cushions. But most people don't know how to use it. So wouldn't it be great if you could just say, hey, Google, where's my remote? Or hey, Google, find my remote. And it would just trigger this feature for you. So you wouldn't even have to get up in order to find your remote. So the other thing that's great thing about speech, and as a product person, I find this very useful, is consumers will ask a voice assistant whatever they feel like asking, whether it can do it or not. And you can use that to learn what kind of features consumers will value most. And so I think we're going to learn a lot as we get into this about what they want. The other thing that I think is interesting is if you think about a voice remote today, or even a search, you have these single request searches. You've got to know exactly what you're looking for. And I always call it's kind of search anxiety. When you hit that button, you got to be ready to tell it exactly what you want. The beauty of Google Assistant is you can have conversation-based discovery. You can start to ask it questions and say, hey, show me Tom Cruise movies, and it's going to give you hundreds of movies. And you can say, no, that one that he's with Charlize Theron, right? And have it filter it down to that exact thing that you want. So I think that's pretty cool, is this notion of conversational content discovery. And then the other thing that I know I use all the time is setting up, linking your smart home and your smart lighting to your viewing experiences, so that you don't have to get up to turn off the lights when you're ready to watch that movie. It's probably the thing I use Google Assistant for the most. Is I'll turn on a movie and I'll say Google set up movie time, and it brings down the lights. It's a known routine, so it'll bring down the lights, and I can enjoy the movie in peace. So that's good. And then there's another area that I'd call out, which is near and dear to service writers' hearts, is the ability to use this to guide people through self-setup and help them with the support of their services. You wouldn't believe how much time and energy we spend helping people get things set up. And the beauty of an assistant is you can, it can go at the pace of the user, and it can walk them through these types of things. And that helps to bring down costs of support, which is great for the business. And the other thing is it avoids that customer having to sit on hold waiting to talk to a customer service rep. So it gives them a better support experience when we do things like this. So we're very excited. There's lots of cool things. And in the meantime, we're excited to launch this here in February, get our assistant integration, and let consumers start to take control of their TV experience.
So I had no idea that you could double tap on the set-top power button and have it beep the remote. That is super clever and actually incredibly useful. Voice is such a natural way to ask for what you want and to harness the power of conversation to enable content discovery. This is a really exciting step for consumers and their home entertainment systems. It's also incredibly exciting that consumers of all demographics are adopting voice technology with their home entertainment providers. We are really looking forward to your launch in February and also seeing what else Verizon is bringing to consumers and the smart home. Lance, thanks so much for being part of the show.
Thanks for having me, Michelle. It's been a great time, and thanks for having me on Voice Talks.
Now back to you, Sofia.
Thank you, Michelle and Lance. I'm really looking forward to seeing the Fios integration launch in February, because I think that TVs are just such a natural placement for voice assistants, especially today when our TVs, in a way, feel like our mobile devices. They have a lot of apps that we can click into and then search for the content that we're looking for. I definitely consider myself to be a voice power user, so I almost always use my voice to launch an app and go directly into the content that I want to watch. So over the holidays, naturally, I was using voice on my parents' TV, and then I taught them how to do it, which was basically just like a 1-minute lesson. And then immediately after that, I caught my mom using it frequently. So I think it's just like one of those things that when you try it, you can immediately see the value. And then honestly, having to search for a movie by clicking around or clicking like letter by letter feels time consuming, which I know it's like absolutely crazy to say, but time is such a precious thing, and anything that saves us time, in my opinion, is a big win to me. I did not know though that I could just hit the power button on the box twice and then my remote would start beeping. I told you last year that I used my assistant a lot to find my phone with my voice, but I'm shocked in the best way possible that I can now find my remote by just using my voice as well. Michelle also briefly mentioned a few other notable announcements from virtual CES. So let's take a moment to have a more in-depth look at some of those highlights. Every year, I look forward to CES, and so I'm excited to share a short recap of what launched. starting with our partner Samsung. They really bring to life the notion that wherever you are and whatever you're doing, technology should work for you. And Samsung's products do exactly that with the help of Google, which is now directly built in. Now you can manage your Assistant connected smart home products using the SmartThings app on Galaxy smartphones and tablets. This includes control of your Nest devices like Nest thermostat, cameras, and doorbells. I'm so excited that SmartThings will also be available in Android Auto, so you can do things like turn off your kitchen lights from your car's display, or as you pull into the driveway, you can turn on your thermostat or start cleaning. As you know, I'm a super user of Google Duo, so I'm also excited that we can all stay connected with our loved ones and put them on the big screen with either one-on-one or group video calls with the Google Duo app on Samsung TV. And finally, there was a huge announcement that Google Messages are now native to Galaxy devices, which means you can seamlessly switch messaging between your PC or laptop, smartphone, and smart display device. Next is our partner Sony, who showcased an amazing array of technology for the home. And since we're all at home a lot lately, there's nothing cozier than curling up on the couch for a movie night. Sony will make this easier as all their 2021 models will include built-in Google TV. I can say, "Hey Google, find animated movies," and I can pick my favorite to watch. But Sony's technology wasn't limited to TVs at CES this year. We saw an incredible demo of how Sony's intelligent vision image sensor uses AI to isolate users' lips and then translate their movements into words, independent of any background or foreground noise. In fact, it requires no microphone whatsoever. For CES, we saw this demo in the car, but I'm sure that we will see it rolling out to places like crowded restaurants, concerts, and airplanes in the future. And while it's nice to hang out at home, relax, and watch my favorite shows, there's still things to do around the apartment that aren't so fun. So I was grateful for those CES announcements that brought helpfulness to my home by announcing new integrations with partners like Smart Medium and iRobot for their vacuum robots. Now all I have to do is say, "Hey Google, make my floors shine," and voila, the robot is off to do the dirty work. While consumers have been able to control their lights and change colors for a while using your smart display, one of the coolest things is that LiveX announced their users can now control LED filament lamps that look like Edison lamps. This is LED technology with the look that we love. But not only do these new connected lights from LiveX, Nanoleaf, and Yeelight now work with Hey Google, but all these new devices support seamless setup, which makes it possible to connect compatible smart home devices directly through the Google Home app and Nest speaker or smart display without the need for an additional hub or bridge. CES looked different this year, but our partners really brought some amazing innovations to make live at home that much better. I hope that you enjoyed that quick recap that we put together. I really love watching how voice is evolving. Being able to just read my lips and pick up what I'm saying, I thought that was just very powerful. Another thing that I thought was very cool that we didn't mention was LG's presentation. They had a human-like virtual AI presenter presenting some of their launches. I just thought that interacting live with a digital influencer was straight out of Avatar. There was also a pet door that notifies you when your pet is nearby and ready to go out. And I truly imagine a day when they add voice to that, and then your dog will just be able to speak and to tell you when he wants to go out for a walk. Just imagine what voice would you actually choose for your pet. I also then wondered if the Nike Run app could even start to track how many miles your dog is running. I certainly, as you know, continue to use the app to track my runs. And now, after a long run when I'm just exhausted, I can even tell my shoes to unlace. Here's how that works. Open Nike Adapt and unlace.
Here's Nike Adapt.
I thought that was pretty cool. And then I can actually also use my voice to easily lace them up as well. Before we move on to our next segment, do not forget to tell us, how are you using your voice device to keep your New Year's resolution? Let us know in the chat or by using the hashtag VoiceTalks, and I'll read some of your responses very soon. Up next, we couldn't have our first episode of the year without one of our favorite guests, Brett Kinsella, to help us set the stage for the year and talk about what he sees in voice and the significance of these for the ecosystem. Take it away, Brad.
Well, thank you, Sophia. Yes, I am Brett Kinsella. I'm founder of VoiceBot.ai. I'm very excited to be here for season 2 of Voice Talks. I think it is one of the best shows out there for the industry, really focused on trying to make sure everyone's educated and up to date. If you're not familiar with VoiceBot.ai, I'll just tell you there's a website. We have almost 10 million page views. I mean, that's how popular it is. Voice Insider, a newsletter for insiders. We have the podcast, and we have a extensive research database. So a lot of reports in there. So I definitely suggest you check that out. A lot of the things we're going to talk about today, we have covered in VoiceBot Research. So that's a place where if you want to learn more, you can check it out. Okay, so the first thing I want to let you know is where we are today. I've heard some people who are really optimistic about where voice is today, and I've heard other people who are kind of pessimistic and feel like the industry isn't moving quite as quickly as they thought. Well, let me tell you that there's something really distinctive going on here with voice, in that there are over 1 billion monthly active users of voice assistants, and these include the general purpose assistants, Google Assistant, Siri, Amazon Alexa, maybe Samsung Bixby. It doesn't even include all of these independent, custom branded assistants. Nobody really has a total count for those. But I would say there's over 1 billion monthly active users based on my analysis, and there are over 3 billion devices where you can actually access voice assistants of some sort. So that's really tremendous. The other thing is, if we just look at the US, and the US is interesting here because it's where most of these technologies were deployed first, or at least hit critical mass first among consumer adoption. So we have smart speakers. Over 1/3 of US adults have access to those. On smartphones, we're going to talk a little bit more about those in a moment. 60% of people have used a voice assistant. And in the car, 50% have used it. And so if you think about it, voice isn't just one thing. It's not just smart speakers, it's not just smartphones, it's not just hearables or the car. It's all of these different things. When we talk about voice, one of the really interesting things is it's not dependent on a specific device. It's really this relationship between the user and the assistant, and it could be many assistants that are used throughout the day. And I don't want people to leave this without understanding that what's happened with voice is actually kind of tremendous, because there is massive distribution of what's going on. And that doesn't happen with all new technologies. And what that means to you is, let's say a developer, a voice assistant, a product maker, is that you have access. You have an on-ramp where you can already reach consumers today with voice assistant technology to deploy your voice assistants. Now we have like the big mobile OSs. They have Siri and Google Assistant. Sure, those can go out, but they also provide an avenue for you to do that. And there's these other platforms like the smart speakers and custom devices, which also allow all sorts of different people to get a voice assistant in front of consumers. So don't underestimate how powerful that is, because one of the biggest barriers of new tech adoption is already solved. You can already reach consumers today. And the other thing is, you actually have an on-ramp into consumers. There is consumer mindshare already around voice assistants. They're familiar with them. So you don't have to teach people what a voice assistant is anymore. You really just have to get them to try it, and then they can interact with that voice assistant. And there's going to be a lot of things that they're already familiar with. And so that really helps the ramp-up process. So don't underestimate, too, how important that is. And what all I think this means is we have a great foundation for this industry to grow very quickly over the next couple of years, as new applications and as new innovations come forward. I was asked today to talk a little bit about predictions for consumer AI adoption over the next year. And January 1st, every year for the last 5 years, we've put out this predictions article. And this year we have over 50 people from the industry who have made over 100 predictions. And they've said everything from they believe there will be a rise of custom assistants to more multimodal displays, to the replacement of touch devices with voice interactive devices for digital services in public because of concerns around germ spreading. All those things are important, but I want to point out just 3 that I think are going to be the most important trends for voice AI over the next year that you're going to see a lot of, and they're going to set a new foundation that we're going to build on. The first of those is voice in apps. We already saw some of the capabilities rolled out in a number of apps over the last couple of years. That's just going to fuel more people to do this. The competitors of those apps are going to start to roll out voice. Other people are going to see that as an opportunity as well. The benefit of this is, I was talking to Richard Weeks at US Bank. They had over 300 features in their mobile app. You can't design a mobile app touch UI to get to 300 features effectively. But voice opens that all up, and it makes it simpler for users. They can just ask for what they want, and then they can get it. Now, when we think about voice in apps as well, there's a lot better tooling than there was a couple of years ago. When Bank of America built theirs, they basically had to build or assemble all these different components themselves. Now you have tools that will do a lot of that for you, and you can get things ramped up in just a few months in many cases. And so that's another important thing. And then we have the platform. So we have Google Assistant app actions rolled out last year. That makes it easier to use Google Assistant to actually control an app and to get to services within that app. Amazon Alexa or Alexa for apps also is there. I expect to see more from Apple and Siri this year to make that easier. So there's going to be a lot of reasons why putting voice in apps is both desirable this year and a lot easier than it has been in the past. So the timing is very good for this. So voice in apps is the first prediction I have for this year. I think it's going to be a very important trend. Also, voice in your ears. So one of the things that we've seen is that hearables, mostly earbuds today, have become extremely popular, mostly because of streaming music. And you think about the idea that people wanted to have their music on the go or their other audio content, and then we had the Apple AirPods come out. And that basically set a standard for people. They tried it, they had a good experience, and then all the other players in the market came along, and they've been, in many cases, catching up. And it goes everything from Nuheara and the assistive hearing side over to Sony and Bose for the type of companies that have been in the hearables or the audio space for a long time. All of them are going to be doing this. Now, how does this interact with voice? So first of all, what we found through our research is that more people are accessing voice assistants on the go through their wireless earbuds. There are more people with our wireless earbuds than we had in the past because a lot of people have acquired them because they want to use their Zoom meetings or their Google Meet meetings at home for work, and they want to be isolated. And then once those are in your ears, you can access all sorts of things. It could be the voice assistant on the phone. It could be a voice assistant connect to your desktop like Cortana, or it could be right into an app, a custom voice assistant in Spotify or something like that. So there's all sorts of new applications. And over the next couple of years, you start seeing some things which are really focused on new type of voice interactive experiences, specifically designed for people walking around on the go with hearables in their ears. Okay, so voice in your ears, another one. And the last one I want to talk about is voice in virtual humans. I don't know if you're familiar with virtual humans. Sometimes they're called digital humans, sometimes artificial humans. We prefer the term virtual humans at VoiceBot. I think it's the most common one. This idea that you have not only some sort of interactive chatbot, let's say, but it has an avatar as well. We already see them as Instagram influencers. We're seeing them in some customer service applications. I expect to see a lot more of these over the next year. There's going to be a huge hype around this, I think, over the next 18 months or so, around these virtual humans. So watch out for that. It might be a little while before we really figure out the true utility of these, but that's going to come as well. It's going to be something that'll drive even more interest in this conversational AI voice interactive experience. Okay, so there you go. Those are my 3 predictions for the year. If you want to learn more about this, go to voicebot.ai. You can find all our other stuff there. We try to be the central resource for the industry for this type of data. And also, reach out to me on Twitter, @BrettKinsella. I'll definitely answer your questions anytime you want. And the 3 things, or the 3 trends you need to keep track of are voice in apps, voice in your ears, voice in virtual humans. And don't forget that there's this huge foundation, this incredible foundation that we can build voice on and get our voice interactive capabilities and experiences to consumers today. Thank you so much. I'm Brett Kinsella at voicebot.ai. Back to you, Sophia.
Brett, first of all, I'm really glad that you shared those numbers because I agree that what's happening with voice is tremendous. As you said, over 1/3 of US adults have smart speakers. About 60% of people use voice assistants on their phones. And then we're also seeing that globally, 27% of the online population is using voice search on mobile. This is all huge. And like you said, voice technology isn't just one thing or a single industry, but rather it's a transformative technology that's expanding into all areas of our life and business. And it's not surprising then that all of the largest tech companies are investing heavily in this technology, already reaching millions of users and making it more mainstream. Having the number of devices out there is also a great foundation to enable the ambient world, connecting our home and on-the-go experiences. This really sets us up for a very exciting year in voice. It is also very impressive how virtual assistants are evolving, putting a face and a voice to customer service. I mentioned the virtual AI presenter that LG had at CES, but another current favorite of mine is Lil Michaela. She's a digital influencer, or virtual human, as Brett called them. She always recommends new art and culture like musicians, like fashion designers, and TV shows. I definitely recommend that you just go to her Instagram just to see how incredible this is. She even also has like a show on Snapchat. So Lil Michaela, if you're watching, maybe you'll come join us for a future episode of Voice Talks. Well, we certainly hope so. And just as I was saying that, I can't believe that we're in an era where we're starting to talk to robots. All right, now let's see how you are using your voice devices to keep up with your New Year's resolutions. I'm gonna see some of the comments that you shared. All right. So we have a first comment from Sozin, and she says, my 9-year-old uses our voice devices to remind him to read for 30 minutes every day and sets a countdown timer for him. This is such a wonderful habit. I'm sure my dad wished that I would have done this when I was 9-year-old. So this is a great habit to start developing when you're really young, to make sure that you're reading for at least 30 minutes a day. Our next comment is from Andy. And he says, I use Google Assistant on my smart screen to play a hit timer on YouTube while watching TV, sneaking in some exercise instead of stuffing my face. Wow, the assistant is really making you productive. I definitely agree that that's better than just like binge eating while you're watching Netflix or YouTube. And you can watch YouTube on your smart display, as Andy said, and then you can also use it on your phone and cast it to your TV or play it directly on your TV. And then the last comment is from Elaine. She said, I switched phones to a Pixel and love using Google Assistant morning routine to check my schedule. My runs are events in my calendar. I love this. I hope that you're enjoying your Pixel device and that you seem to be enjoying your morning routines, which is great to be keeping you on track. So we had one New Year's resolution about reading for 30 minutes, another one how the assistant is helping you stay fit, and the other one how the assistant is helping you stay organized with your morning routines. These are really wonderful, and to help you stay on track with these New Year's resolutions, and to just start spreading the love early this year, we're gonna be sending each of you a voice device. So you better keep us posted with how you're doing. Even my producer told me that she was using her device to help her gratitude practice. Google reminds her each day to say something she's grateful for. For me, by spending more time at home in 2020, my use of the Google Assistant evolved. One of the new ways I've been using my device is to create a cookbook of easy, healthy recipes. Last year, while working from home, I realized that I was skipping a lot of meals, especially my lunch. And then when I did eat, I was eating a lot of pasta because it was just the easiest thing to put together. And I admit that I'm not a great cook at all. So in the days that I tried to be a little bit more creative, I would just take a longer time and I would just lose motivation altogether to continue doing it. So in thinking how to manage this habit, which wasn't healthy, I turned to my assistant. So on my Pixel, on my phone, under the assistant settings, I went into food preferences, and then I chose the type of food I like, and then I was also able to choose the ingredients I like to cook with. And now the assistant recommends me recipes with those preferences. Any recipe that I like, when I'm searching, I just add it to my cookbook, and I can just say, hey Google, open cookbook.
Sure, your cookbook.
Awesome. And so here you can see I've saved 3 recipes, and one is just like 45 quick healthy dinner ideas, which of course I can always do for lunch. And you can see, so here are just some really healthy recipes. And so now I've been eating just much healthier by using easy recipes that really on average are taking me about like 20 minutes to put together. And I know that a lot of people probably don't know this feature, so I wanted to share it. And I have to say that it's been something that has been super helpful for me. All right, up next, are you ready to build for a voice this year? Or maybe just need a refresher of how to build the basics? Well, now is the time to take out your notebooks and welcome Tony, our developer relations expert.
Thanks, Sophia. I'm Tony, and for those of you who don't know me, I'm part of the Assistant DevRel team. We support assistant developers with docs, code labs, samples, client libraries, and more. It's been a bit since we've seen you all, so Happy New Year! And in line with the new year, today's theme is getting started building with the assistant. We'll be demoing some first-time builds for app actions, smart home actions, and conversational actions. And of course, at the end of each demo, we'll have links and resources on how to get started building for each action type. Let's get started straight away with a demo of App Actions for Android. App Actions help extend the functionality of your apps. Let's take a look at a basic Android to-do list with App Actions. I'm using Android Studio and the Android emulator to demo this app. In this app, you can add tasks to your to-do list, mark off tasks that you've completed, or search for items in your to-do list. Since App Actions have been implemented for this app, users can trigger the app simply through minimal commands to the assistant rather than having to manually open and control the app. So let's try that now. If we were talking to the assistant, we could say, search for eggs in task list. And the assistant will open up our task list directly to the task involving eggs. This example uses built-in intents and an associated deep link to shortcut users into the app. These built-in intents are defined in an actions.xml file that gets bundled into your existing Android package. So here we can see our built-in intent of Open App feature and also built-in intent of Get Thing. If we want to test these, we can use the App Actions testing tool. When we open this up, we can choose which intent we're testing. So we start with Open App feature, and here we want to search for completed tasks. When we run this, this will open up the list to any completed tasks. If we wanted to test the Get Thing intent, we could search for any task that included running shoes, for example, or we could look for any items on our list, including milk. And there you have it. If you'd like to learn how to work with App Actions, check out our code labs, which will take you through building your Android app with App Actions. We've also got additional docs and videos to help you learn more about building with App Actions. Now to my colleague Jessica, who will be showing you one of the first conversational actions that she built. It's a fortune-telling action that's based in a mythical land. Let's check in with Jessica for a quick demo.
So we're in the Actions console and we're on the Test tab. And this is where you can simulate the interaction of your conversational action, especially when you're building your action and of course at the end. So let's actually test out my fortune telling action by clicking on Talk to my test app.
Okay, getting the test version of my test app.
A wondrous greeting, adventurer. Welcome back to the mythical land of Griffinburg. Before you continue on your quest, would you like your fortune told?
And so we could click on the suggestion chip down here as well. So let's click yes.
What do you choose to help you on your quest? A dragon, a translator, or a compass?
Ooh, instead of clicking on here, I'm going to use the audio. So I think a dragon would be really fun.
The people of Griffinburg will be awestruck by the power of the ancient dragon. Much to your dismay, the townspeople fall into dispute over who will receive the honor of riding the dragon first. That is what I see for you. Would you like to choose a different option and explore another future?
This time we'll say no.
It pleases me that you are satisfied with your choice. Best of luck on your quest. Farewell.
So I built this action using the Actions Builder to manage my conversational logic. And then I also use Cloud Functions as my webhook to help provide dynamic responses, like checking to see if the user, if they're new, I'm going to give them a modified greeting versus if they're a returning user.
If you want to learn how to build this demo yourself, click out Build Actions for Google Assistant using Actions Builder, Level 1 and Level 2. This is a great tutorial that'll walk you through building your first conversational action. Check out the docs and our other videos about conversational actions. Smart home actions are the recommended method for developing voice controls for any devices for the helpful home. When you build with Smart Home, your devices can be controlled by voice on any assistant-enabled device and with touch controls on smart displays and mobile apps. Let's take a look at a smart home action for a smart washing machine. I can control the washing machine through the Google Home app by triggering execute intents to change the device state. The updated device states are then reported to Google Home Graph. If later in the day I forget whether or not my washing machine is running, I can ask the assistant directly and trigger query intent to check whether it is.
The washing machine is on.
I can also unpause it if necessary.
Okay, resuming the washing machine.
And finally, I can even check to see how much time is left on the current cycle.
The washing machine will finish the current cycle in 5 minutes and 1 second.
This smart home action uses Cloud Functions for Firebase for the fulfillment. The sample also has a front-end UI that you can use to trigger sync intents or report device state changes between your Firebase real-time database and Home Graph. To get started building your own smart home action, check out our code labs, where you can learn how to connect your own cloud integration, expand your smart home actions with custom traits or two-factor authentication, and also how to implement local fulfillment with the Local Home SDK. You can also check out our docs for even more features and tools to help you build for smart home. Do you have any questions about developing for Assistant? Feel free to post them on Stack Overflow, and for all other questions, post them to our Reddit community. To stay up to date with our latest announcements, follow us on Twitter. And of course, if you want to learn more, check out our docs and get hands-on experience with our code labs. On behalf of the Assistant DevRel team, thanks for having us!
Tony and Jessica, thank you so much for those quick run-throughs on how to create app actions, conversational actions, and smart home actions. Now, given all the changes that happened in 2020, prioritizing our health and wellness is paramount. At the start of the new year, fitness also always seems to be one of those resolutions that makes it into our list, and rightfully so. So I really love seeing this video by Eva Bacina detailing how her assistant helps her in that regard. Take a look.
Have you ever thought of using voice technology to help you meet your New Year's resolutions? I did, and by using Google Assistant's custom routines, I hacked myself into a new productive habit. My goal this year is to work out more. So, as I set up my own custom routine, I chose to schedule it every other day at a particular time for consistency. Then, I chose a speaker that will start this routine by also reminding it to me. Then, I set a motivational quote as a custom response to make my goal more attractive and help me stick to it. Believe me, it works. Then, I set my routine to play my favorite workout playlist on my chosen display device to make it as easy as possible. And finally, I turn on my calorie counter app on my smartwatch. It always feels good to see the results of your own efforts. You can always adjust your custom routine as you progress to maximize your results and to prevent yourself from getting stuck and from getting bored in the long run.
Thank you, Eva, for detailing that out very clearly and for sharing with everyone how you're using your routines to motivate you to work out. Even though I'm very much into motivational quotes, I had actually never thought about asking my assistant to say a motivational quote as part of my fitness routine. I think that was very neat, so thank you again for sharing it, and I'm definitely gonna give it a try to see if it helps me stay active and fitness throughout this entire year. I'm excited to send you a device to ensure that your assistant can be there from every room to help you keep up with this New Year's resolution. Our next guest, Catherine Prescott, is a wizard with voice devices. She knows all the best tips and tricks for Google Assistant and Alexa, and she shares them in her daily newsletter called Voice Brew. Today, she's going to be telling us more about 3 tips for a better 2021.
Thank you so much for having me back on the show. I'm super excited to be here. I'm Catherine Prescott, the founder and editor of Voice Brew. I started Voice Brew 2 years ago to help people learn how voice tech can make their lives better. And today, Voice Brew sends our readers a daily email newsletter with one great thing to try with Google Assistant and one great thing to try with Alexa. And I'm very excited to say that we have over 10,000 people every single day who are reading our newsletter. On today's episode of Voice Talks, I am going to be sharing 3 habits that will make your 2021 better, and of course, how your voice assistant can help. Number 1, boost your sense of purpose. So doing things like giving to charity, volunteering, checking in on elderly friends, neighbors, and relatives, even finding ways to add structure and direction to your day can all boost your sense of purpose. With your voice assistant, you can donate to hundreds of charities, and all you have to say is, "Hey Google, donate to charity," or "Alexa, donate to charity." Your voice assistant is also a great way to check in on elderly friends and neighbors. You know, at least in my experience, some of the elderly people in my life kind of have a tough time using Zoom and some of the other video chat apps. But to use their smart speaker and smart displays, video chat, or even just non-video chat features is really, really easy for them. And so it's proven to be a great way for me to keep in touch with the elderly in my life. Routines, of course, are a really effective way to add structure to your day. So I actually started my work from home routine, which I still use to this day, back in March when I was first cooped up in the very beginning of the pandemic. And it's a really simple routine. It reminds me when I might want to have lunch, or when it's time to kind of have a snack, when I might want to take a break or go for a walk. But I think the most important part of the routine is that it actually reminds me when it's time to call it quits for the day. I am sure that almost everybody who's watching this talk has experienced the phenomenon of the never-ending work from home day. And sometimes it's really important and it's really helpful to just have a little nudge. Second habit for 2021, spend 20 minutes every day focused on your mental health. We are all more focused than ever on staying healthy right now. And it's important to remember that your mental health, your level of anxiety and stress, is a key component in your overall health. And there are so many tools out there that can help, that are great ways to help manage and look after your mental health. And what's really great is that your voice assistant is a gateway to all of these tools, or to many of these tools, because different things are right for different people. So your voice assistant is, in my opinion, the easiest way to try a guided meditation. All you have to say is, "Hey Google, talk to Headspace," or "Alexa, talk to Headspace." You'll be meditating almost immediately. Yoga is also a great way to get some added peace of mind. Want to start up a yoga class or see what's out there? Just say, "Hey Google, show me a relaxing yoga class on YouTube," or "Alexa, open easy yoga." And if you want to try something more challenging, you can totally just ask for that too. And this is kind of a crazy one, but if you really want to try something a little bit wacky and out of the box, I recommend asking your assistant to hypnotize you and see what happens. Third habit for 2021, start up a repeatable nightly sleep routine. So watching the latest episode of Bridgerton or whatever TV you like to watch at night is really tempting. But unfortunately, and I'm sure I'm not telling you something you don't already know, watching an hour of TV right before you go to bed is not going to help you get a peaceful night of sleep. So I want to tell you about some of the key elements of my nightly sleep routine. It actually kicks off a few hours before I go to sleep. What I do is I have all of the smart lights across my home dim from the cooler blue or white that they're set to during the day down to a warmer white. And I'll tell you why. Light temperature actually has a real impact on your body and your circadian rhythm. So many of you are probably wondering, what is light temperature? So light temperature is the color of your lights even if they're white. And it actually has a real effect, as I mentioned. So the light on the right side of this image is a cooler, bluer white. And it's great to help you wake up in the morning and focus on work throughout the day. But if you leave your lights set to this cooler, bluer white late into the evening, it might actually, on the margin, be making it more difficult for you to fall asleep at night. Whereas the light on the left side of the image, the warmer tones, actually tell your brain to release melatonin, which helps put your body into a more relaxed state, and it helps you fall asleep. And many of the connected smart lights on the market today have a white spectrum so that you can actually change the color white of the lights throughout the day. And this is a really great way to use routines. So when it's actually time to get into bed, so this is, you're brushing your teeth, you're putting on your pajamas, this is when you want to actually kick off a bedtime routine, which, no surprise, you want to have that routine dim down your lights low. And I like to turn on relaxing audio. So this is going to be different for everybody. We all find different things relaxing. So this could be turning on ambient sounds like crashing waves or thunderstorm or a babbling brook, or I actually personally prefer just plain old white noise. You can also put on a relaxing sleep meditation if you want to try something like that. And then the last thing that I like to do, but this is totally optional, is I like to set my smart speaker to do not disturb. I get lots of notifications and messages and sometimes even calls on my smart speakers. And so I want to make sure that I don't get awakened in the middle of the night with any of these things. So if you're like me and you're getting a lot of notifications and incoming stuff on your smart speaker, set it to do not disturb. And that way you don't have to worry about it waking you up in the middle of the night. So I have spent the last few minutes talking about some of the ways that I'm going to be using Google Assistant and Alexa to help me both build and then keep with really good habits in 2021. But what I didn't mention during the talk is that my best source for many of the ideas that I write about is the voice community, and that is you. So tweet at me at KB Prescott, use the hashtag VoiceTalks, and tell me about some of your favorite, surprising, unusual uses for voice technology and your voice assistant. I cannot wait to hear all of your ideas and all the things that you've been doing.
Catherine, I loved everything about this. I love the tips themselves, how easy it was to digest them, and learning about the science behind them. Just like you, I use my device for my morning and bedtime routines and to meditate. So let me show you a few of these ideas in action. Hey Google, turn on Gentle Wake Up.
Okay, turning in Gentle Wake Up for 4 lights. I'll start to brighten the lights before your morning alarm.
So then every morning the lights turn on slowly before my morning alarm. I also alternate between meditating at night or in the morning. I shared this last year, but I started meditating a lot last year, and I could go on and on about this, but I really did see a big difference in myself. And I can even see a difference now in the days that I meditate and the days that I don't. So at night, when you want to put your mind to bed, you can just say, hey Google, tell Headspace I'm ready for bed.
Sleep exercise.
Welcome to Headspace on Sleep.
But it's not that time of the evening yet, so hey Google, stop. Awesome. And there's also one last video that I wanted to share from Inga Breed, who's using her New Year's resolution to help shape the future of voice. Take a look.
Hi, I'm Inga Breedy, and I'm based out of Toronto, Canada. The way that I'm using voice technology to achieve my goals for 2021 is to create forward-thinking experiences and engaging content through a startup that I founded late last year. And this year, I am starting off by developing an interactive audio narrative for kids through the Transmedia Zone at Ryerson University. That's an incubator program that helps indie creators and first-time entrepreneurs. So when it's ready to launch, I can't wait for you to hear it.
Inga, congratulations on your startup. Last year, we saw great launches to help parents and kids find quality content to learn and play. So I'm excited to see your interactive audio narrative launch this year. And thank you for sending in this video and for sharing your plans for 2021 with us. We're gonna be sending you a device to help test that ambitious story that you're creating. And we're now sadly at the end of our first episode of the year. So I wanted to thank Michelle, Lance, Brett, Tony, and Catherine. Thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing your expertise and tips to develop healthy habits this year. Thank you also to everyone behind the scenes who makes this show possible every month. And of course, thank you for being part of this journey with us, of this new future in voice technology, and for supporting the show. Next month, we're gonna be back on February 25th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And just like Inga, we're gonna continue to look forward and plan to discuss how the biggest and brightest in the voice field are developing the future of voice technology. We are lining up some incredible guest speakers for this, so you don't wanna miss it. And in fact, we're gonna be throwing a poll on social media to know where you are in adding voice to your business or startup. So be sure to answer, and we're gonna be including the results in next month. So see you on February 25th. Bye.